got that heat.
Welcome to another edition of the Lakers Locker Room. I'm your co-host, Tajon Graham. Alongside me is my guy, the one, the only, Mr. J. Sloan. Just how you doing today, man?
Fantastic. Thank you, Tajon.
So in the last episode, we just started our senior send-off series, and we started with both volleyball teams. This episode, we're going to start with the women's basketball team. You know, we have three seniors here today from the women's basketball team. We have Katie Whelan, Devisha Binns, and Angeline Campbell. How are you ladies doing today?
Great, thanks.
Before we begin, I also want to give a special shout out to two other seniors who couldn't make it on the podcast today, Vanessa Willis and Finney McKelwin. We just quickly want to thank you girls for obviously all your contributions towards Nipissing University, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So the 2021-22 season was a crazy season, you know, so many ups and downs, you know, an Omicron variant that paused the season halfway through. You girls personally went through a coaching change, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So Devisha, I'm going to start with you. If you can, you know, sum up the 21-22 season in one word, what would it be and why?
Felt really long because just so much things happened. So I would just say perseverance. Yeah, for like you just mentioned, you listed all the things that happened. So you kind of had to like just get through it all, you know?
Yeah. What about you, Angeline?
I would say resilience.
Yeah. Katie, what about you?
Yeah, I would echo that too. I'd say tough. It was tough. It was a grind, you know, to get to the end.
Yeah.
Now, having a coach kind of leave mid-season and then having Coach Corey step up and take over, how was that? Like, how was the adjustment period for you guys? And like, was it difficult to adjust or did it come quick?
I mean, I had no choice but to come quick. It was like we had 9 days, so it was just
most of us it came quick because we knew that we needed something more. So when that more came, like we were ready for the most part.
Yeah, when we got the opportunity, everyone was ready to play. Everyone wanted to take it. You know, we wanted to do our best for whatever we had left. So we gave it our all.
And in terms of coaching styles, was it much different or?
Yeah, like how, if you could say, just to echo what Jason was saying, like how was the adjustment period in terms of, you know, obviously Katie and Coach Corey are two different coaches. And like you said, you guys only had 9 days to really adjust to Coach Corey's coaching style, right? Which really isn't a lot of time. So I asked you, Dev, like how was it for your team or you personally really adjusting to a new coaching style so quickly?
I would say Corey's like a player's coach, so he kind of like gives players freedom and stuff like that, and works to like work through that. And I would say they just have different philosophies, different work ethics, and yeah.
Yeah. So staying on that, you know, obviously I was really into you guys' games the second half of the season. Obviously, like I said, with coaching both teams. And I'm gonna ask you this because you can see from the first half of the season to the second half, there was like a dramatic shift in terms of, even though you girls were only really won one game, you can definitely see that you guys were definitely more competitive. What would you say was the biggest shift? If it was not just the competitiveness, but in general, what would you say was the biggest shift, you know, the team had from the first half of the season to second half? Was it your chemistry? Was it the competitiveness? Like, what was it for your team?
I think it started off the court. Like our chemistry, like off the court, was a lot better in the second half of the season. We actually just like hung out more. It was just more fun. Like honestly, like Coach Corey just brought out the funness of basketball. Like he brought that back to the team, and like just helped us elevate so much. Like obviously it didn't show in wins, but like we've gotten a lot better in the second half of the season because of that.
Yeah. So let's stay on that. Obviously, like I said, you guys obviously didn't win a lot, but obviously within your second game of coaching, the first weekend back from Omicron, you guys did get your first win against U of T. So Katie, what was it like to finally, you know, get your first win, you know, of the season with Coach Corey?
It felt like amazing. Like I was saying to the girls, like going home after losing, like every time your roommates are like, yo, did you win? And I'm like, no. But like that, like telling them you won, like we put so much effort in, you know how hard it is to be a varsity athlete, right? You're juggling school, you're juggling like your training practice, you're trying to have like some sort of social life with friends, and then like, yeah, winning just means like, that's why we like everyone wants to win, right? And like losing crushes your soul like so much. So to get that win, yeah.
Yeah. And Jason,
lose.
and Jason, I gotta say too, like the bus ride home was so much fun because both teams won because they won their first game. Ricky hit the game winner against U of T. You know what's crazy? When I look at back at it, that was actually the shot that saved our season because if we had lost that game, we would have had 5 wins and U of T would have made the playoffs. So that was the difference. So that whole bus ride home was probably one of the most funnest bus rides ever see because everyone's lit and both teams won. Hell, coach was having a good time too. Coach went 2-0. He was having a good time. So it was fun. But but like looking obviously throughout the season, obviously you guys like said you went through a lot. Like I said, second sem, you guys were definitely more competitive. Obviously, like I said, didn't translate to wins, losses. Obviously, you guys didn't make the playoffs, but unfortunately, obviously, you guys you lost your last game, and kind of your OUA kind of career is over. So, Angie, I'm gonna ask you this because I asked this last week on the podcast. Obviously, at Ontario Tech, when the last bell rang and the clock hit 0, like, did it hit you that like your time at Nipissing was done, or did it take you a while for you to realize that this time of my life is over?
No, like I was really aware that it was over, but it didn't really affect me that much, honestly. So I'm just looking forward to the next chapter. Like,
yeah. What about you, Dev? I know I texted you before like the last game, to give it everything you got. So like same question, like did it hit you when the clock hit 0, or it kind of took you some time to realize that, this part of my life is probably over?
It was kind of like, it didn't really like hit me that much, but it was just like the season was over and it was just kind of like a relief. Like it was just like, oh, like it's done. Like it's come to an end. And like that was more so what I was like thinking about.
Yeah. Jason, you have any before I continue, you have any other questions you want to ask?
I mean, it doesn't really sound like it, but you guys, I guess, didn't really have an identity attached to being just a basketball player, right? Like where that kind of became who you were as a person?
For me, yeah, basketball is my life, but Nipissing's not. So that attachment isn't really there for me for Nipissing. But just because the season ended with Nipissing, like, that doesn't mean my basketball career is over. So that's why I'm not really super hurt by it.
Yeah,
that's fair.
For sure.
So let's switch gears a little bit. So obviously, you guys have been here for a couple of years now. NG obviously been here for 4. There's a lot of lessons you learn throughout the way of obviously being a student athlete. Kate, I'm gonna ask you this first, because obviously, coming from another country and coming to be a part of North Bay and this whole program, what would you say has been the biggest lesson, Nipissing or being a student athlete has taught you that you'll hopefully carry with you in the next chapter of your life and moving forward?
I think this year has taught me a lot about myself. Like trying to do a master's and play basketball, trying to be a good teammate, a good friend, like trying to manage all those balls, keep those juggling in the air. Excuse me. That was like extremely difficult for me, especially the first semester. Like it was so tough, but like I've learned a lot about myself, like how to like manage my time, how to like, I think I've shown myself to be like a better leader this year, like whereas 2 years ago I was just new to the team, right? Whereas this year I felt like I could lead, like show the rookies way to go. So like I've learned a lot about myself. Like I think I'll carry forward, into my career. There's like, I don't think there's going to be a year that's been as tough as this year for me. So like if I could get through this, I can get through anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on you for a second because I also asked this on the last episode. Obviously, when you came, from another country to here, and obviously being in North Bay, you obviously probably have a lot of expectations or thoughts of going there. Okay, this is how my experience possibly could go. From what you thought and what your experience ended up being, talk to me about how similar your thoughts were at the beginning to, or maybe how different they were to what it actually ended up being.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I didn't know, we don't have this varsity kind of like American style thing in Ireland. Like it's not as big to be a varsity athlete, So coming in, I didn't really have an idea of what basketball would be like. I had been in programs before where it's like intense, you're doing weights, you're watching your nutrition, your stuff like that, but it's kind of more for like 6 months at a time with like a team, like a regional team or something like that, not so much in college. So I didn't really know what to expect coming in. Definitely like, there's like a prestige, like not prestige, but like a oh, you're a varsity athlete here, whereas we don't have that in Ireland.
Like status, basically.
Yeah, like,
yeah,
like you have your backpacks, you have your stuff, like
right.
none of that in Ireland. So like it's a different, like there's a lot more money going into it here. There's a lot more like structure and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't expecting like so much of that, like you're doing your weights twice a week, you're like practicing every single like day. Wasn't expecting that for a university.
Right. So yeah, Angeline, I'm gonna ask you also the same question in terms of obviously from your first year to now, what do you think has been the biggest lesson you've learned? I'll ask you two questions. What's the biggest lesson you've learned, through your time at Nipissing, and what would you say is the biggest part of you that has evolved from your first year to now?
The biggest lesson for me is probably just like, because like I'm a really laid back person, so like people could get the wrong like idea from that. So for me, it's just kind of getting out of my comfort zone was the biggest thing for me to learn. So like that, like, so me getting out of my comfort zone helped me to become like a better teammate. So that was the biggest thing that I took away from that. And what was the second question?
What from your first year to now, what would you say has been the biggest part of you that has evolved?
Yeah, so it kind of goes hand in hand. So like the biggest part of me that has evolved is probably just my leadership and becoming a better teammate to the younger girls coming in.
Yeah, for sure. Dev, I'll ask you the same question in terms of, obviously, coming from originally Ryerson, and then you came obviously to Nipissing for the last couple of years. How much would you say you've grown, not just as a player, but obviously as a leader too?
I would say just having a better picture of what I want and what it takes to get the things that I want. The like dedication, the work, everything that goes into it, the focus it requires, just setting those goals for myself and like learning all of that through maturity and just going through these experiences, the highs and the lows, and just feeling it all.
For sure. I definitely want to switch gears again. Obviously, talk about obviously special things. So obviously, all three of you, alongside our team, was obviously part of the first annual Shoot for Change anti-racist basketball game, with those obviously huge success. $18K raised. Yeah, Angeline, I'm gonna ask you first. I'm gonna ask all three of you. I'm gonna ask you first, Angeline. Obviously, what was it like for you to kind of be a part of that event and play for something bigger that night?
It meant a lot to me, obviously, as a Black female athlete. I was very proud to play in the game, and I was just proud of you, Tajon, for like taking that step and doing something that's never been done. I feel like, especially in North Bay, just the awareness of racism and stuff sometimes goes unnoticed. So for that to have happened, like the first one in North Bay, it really meant a lot. And I feel like it's just going to create a bigger change, not just in North Bay, but all around the OUA.
For sure. What about you, Katie? Obviously, like I said, what was it like for you to kind of be a part of something like this, and obviously seeing how much people were there to support and kind of, be a part of that historic night?
Yeah, it was really huge. It was a big event, and like obviously everyone sees the world in a different way, and like based on like class, gender, race, ethnicity. So like I can't see the world the way like Dev and Ange do, right? And there's like different structures like and things in place that like make it harder for them than me, right? And I think like showing that, like you bringing light to that, it's so important. Raising money for like student athletes, like that was huge. Like being able to put yourself out there and say, you know what, like this is the change that needs to happen in the world. Like having the like strength to do that, and like the organizational skills you showed, Tajon, like were crazy. And I was just glad to like sit there and see like that,
For sure. Dev, we've obviously had a lot of conversations, throughout, even when I first had the idea going back to last summer. But like, obviously, same question, like, because I know we've talked about it off air, but definitely for people, listening right now who obviously don't know your thoughts, definitely want for you to really elaborate on how much personally this game has meant to you and for you to kind of be involved. I know before the game, I had you say a little speech, to people just to thank them. So like, what was it like for you to really be a part of something like that in your last year at Nipissing?
It was honestly great to see it unfold, because like I remember like you were talking about it in like June, and you were like, I just hope it's great. And I'm like, Tajon, like you've been planning this for like 10 months. Like
it was almost like what? Like July, yeah, almost like 8 months.
Like,
Go ahead. Sorry, you got me. Sorry, go
I was
ahead.
like, yo, like it's gonna be like this is gonna be amazing. You're putting so much thought, so much energy into this. Like I have no doubt in my mind. And honestly, I'm mostly just proud of you for just like making use of your time so well and just doing something and thinking of the idea, putting into action, getting all the resources. Like that was honestly an amazing event. Like I've never even seen OUA do something like that before in my life. Like it was a halftime drumming show. I was like,
We had the African drummers. Like, yeah.
It was like I was like, what? Like this is really amazing what you've done, and so I'm really just proud of you and that's like everything that you've done to make this happen.
Yeah, Jason, I really wish you were there, man. I really wish you were there.
I was watching, man. I was watching best I could from a distance.
Yeah. You got any other questions, Jason? I got like one. I got one more, but like,
I was going to kind of loop back to your experience over the 4 or 5 years you guys have been at Nipissing and post-secondary. If you guys could give one point of advice to the new up-and-coming student athletes, what would it be? I'd like to hear from all of you.
I would say, 1, make sure you love basketball. Like you have to love it. 2, pick a course or class that you love. Like trying to study something you're not interested in. So difficult, too difficult to do. And probably make sure you prioritize your mental health.
Yeah. Angeline?
I would say just stay true to yourself. And same thing like Katie said, like your mental health is really important, especially as a student athlete. You have to do a lot, so you have to make sure that your mental's right. And if it's not, then you just need to take a step back and just find yourself again and come back. But yeah, and also just to keep going, like it's not going to be easy all the time, but if you keep going, you're going to get to the finish line.
Yeah. Dev?
Yeah, what Katie and what Angeline said, like perseverance, remembering who you are, where you came from, why you're doing this, and knowing where you want to go. Definitely, and then taking those steps that you need to take to get there, because like we're all starting at different places, and so you just gotta know what you're doing. So.
For sure. I'm gonna go off a little tangent, Dev. I'm gonna ask you this because I know you used to go to Ryerson. Everyone obviously saw that Ryerson officially changed the name to Toronto Metropolitan University. I was at the OUA banquet not too long ago, and I was with some girls that were obviously on the championship team. What are your personal thoughts on the name? Because TMU, I'm not a fan, but obviously as someone who went to Ryerson, I want to ask you, like, what are your thoughts on the name? Just to go off a tangent a little bit.
I like TMU, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of think it's like it sounds super futuristic, like Toronto Metropolitan School, like I don't know, or university. Like it's whatever. Like it's obviously the university that's like in my city, and like so it's a part of like the history of Toronto, but it is what it is. Like it's the name, cool,
I'm actually like, I think they call it Metropolitan University. I thought that would have been better. That you can call it the Met or something, but
oh.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? But I just want to ask because you're a Rice person. I got one final question though, but I definitely want to talk about this. So for me and Jason, we're talking a little bit about it. Obviously, it was recently reported that one of our good friends who used to be here is coming back. Obviously, we know Rachel is going to be the new women's basketball coach. I'm so happy for her. She totally deserves it. I know you guys are obviously leaving, but I definitely want to get your thoughts on it because obviously a couple years ago, Rachel was here before she decided to go to Carleton 2 years. So, Angela, I'll ask you first. Like, obviously, everyone kind of saw the news, but like, what are your thoughts? Rachel coming back to the program.
Honestly, I was shocked because I didn't know that she was in the talks for the job. So I was pretty shocked, but I'm super excited and happy for her because obviously she's really invested into coaching and stuff. So this is a great opportunity for her, especially at such a young age. She's going to get like a lot of experience. And I'm just excited for the team. I hope that, they could do well with her as the head coach.
For sure. Katie, what about you? What are your thoughts? I know she was here when you first came to Nipissing back in 2019. So what are your thoughts on Rachel now getting the coaching job?
Yeah, I'm really happy for her. Like Ange said, she's like so young to like be given this opportunity, and like she's showed so much energy and love for the game. So I think she'll bring like that young energy, like the like desire to like build something, like to that energy kind of like that we need. So yeah, I hope she does well with the girls. She already has a connection with them, a connection with North Bay, which will keep her here hopefully for a while. So yeah, seems good.
Sure. And lastly, what about you, Dev?
Yeah, I was shocked as well. I didn't even think that like the application process of like who was applying and stuff, and that was like an option. But yeah, from what I've seen, like I haven't really talked much to her throughout the years, but from what I've seen, she's really has a desire to like get better and learn about the game in whatever type of form that takes. Like she puts herself in really good positions to learn about the game. And so I think she just has a really good opportunity to build, and I think she wants to do that. And she has the work ethic and the desire to do so. So I think it's just about developing.
For sure. And definitely shout out to Rachel, man. Rachel would definitely, I'm putting this out from now, Jason and I will definitely have you in the podcast for season 4. So if you listen to this, Rachel, you will be hearing from us soon. Final question, and this is the end. So obviously your time at Nipissing is, like I said, officially over. The next chapter of your life is about to begin. Katie, we were talking a little bit about it before you got on. We talked about it in the past, but for those who don't know, now that you're done at Nipissing, what does the future hold for you?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna finish my thesis. I'm writing a thesis on the Irish War of Independence right now with Dr. Connor. I'm gonna finish that, defend it in August, and then I'm gonna move to BC. Like for Ange, basketball is still part of her life. I don't think it will be part of mine. I'm ready to like definitely the competitive side, let it go. Like if I want to like play pickup maybe, but yeah, ready to like leave academics for a while too. Like once I finish my thesis, I need a break. I just gone from like English history undergrad, history masters, like trying to do it all. I'm just excited to see different part of Canada. I love traveling, so that's where life's gonna take me next.
Mm-hmm. Angeline, what's the future for you?
See, I'm not really the type to, say what I'm gonna do, what my next move is. I just, when the time comes, but hopefully it'll be basketball involved. I'm not really ready to give it up yet. I still think like there's a lot more left to give. But yeah, just basketball and success is really what I'm after.
Love it.
Period.
Love it.
Period.
I respect that for sure. And last question, same Dev. Last question, same for you. Like, what does the future hold for you now?
Yeah, I mean, I just really got to see what opportunities come to me. But again, just trying to get the things I want out of life and to succeed, as Ange said, like achieve my potential. Like the reason why we were all put on this earth to do the things we're meant to do and to become that person. So that's all I can say.
For sure. Well, obviously that concludes, this episode. By quickly want to thank, Katie, Ange, and Dev. Obviously thank you for being on the show, but also thank you, obviously, for being great friends for the last 3 years. Obviously, it's been cool getting to know each and one of you. Obviously, it's been cool to obviously hang out with you on the bus and talk, outside of school and stuff like that. So definitely congratulate all 3 of you, on finishing your time at Nipissing. I think I can speak for me and Jason when I said we wish all 3 of you nothing but the best. And obviously, like I said, you guys got more to accomplish. So definitely wish all 3 of you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that being said, that is a wrap on another edition of the Lakers Locker. I want to thank all our seniors from the women's basketball team for joining us. You can find the video versions interview on YouTube and listen to the full interview on all podcasting platforms. Peace.